Hey guys, Mike Bland, Private Investigator, making a video on the other shooting scenario in Raleigh, North Carolina with this Daniel Turcios, or Turcios, maybe Turcios, I'm not sure. So, having said that, after also watching that video yesterday of that gentleman that was actually acting far from a gentleman, but it was a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos, but obviously there was an overturned vehicle, people ejected or had crawled out of the vehicle, waiting for medical attention, police, EMS, fire were on the scene responding. It was honestly a scene. I've been on some before as a retired police officer like that. That was total chaos, where you've got ambulances and medevac choppers and trying to control traffic. You got lawyers showing up on the scene. And that scenario there, basically you had a guy that was reported to be driving at a ridiculously high rate of speed down the interstate. Basically went through metal guardrails, shredded them, and overturned the vehicle. And it was confusing. There was either one or two vehicles, but there was a lot of family involved. There was women and kids hurt. There was infants involved. The whole scene was ridiculous, but the point is, this guy, from the minute law enforcement showed up, was hostile, okay? Uncooperative. Was walking around trying to control the scene when his family should be getting treated, okay? So a lot of things there were not jiving. There was the witnesses talking about him driving so fast, he left them sitting still on the interstate. And I thought, but I'd have to go back and review, there was something about, I thought someone was intoxicated. I don't know where I saw or heard that, and it may not be with this video. But the point is, there was a lot of things I was trying to remember with this, review this case, and then the other story there on the Amir Locke guy from Minnesota. But with this one, with this Raleigh, North Carolina footage, the thing that was the most disturbing to me, actually, being a former law enforcement, we all had different trainings and experience and come at things from different angles. But having been in these scenarios and having dealt with guys for knives, coming at me with knives and the whole deal, I've literally been in this exact scenario. Not on a traffic stop, it was in a domestic violence call. But when I saw this, and I saw where this poor fireman standing next to this guy, and the guy's literally holding the knife in his hand. I don't know if the fireman didn't see it, or it was kind of that thing of like, what's going on here? I'm trying to help this guy and he's got a knife. But you'd be surprised the level of confusion in those scenarios. It kind of takes people a double take to realize what's this guy doing, but it clicked in very quickly, just like when I was involved in that. The gentleman's holding the knife. The cops started giving commands. People started getting away from him. The family's trying to tell him to calm down. They end up then literally letting this guy, while he's armed with a knife, grab the hand of the small child and start walking away, okay? I can tell you right now, the police, even when I started in '97 in St. Louis, were under so much scrutiny. And at that time, because of Rodney King, and then years later because of Mike Brown, and there's always these high-profile incidents that put the police under a lot of pressure. And it causes the police to hesitate to do their job, to protect themselves and to protect you and to protect everyone around you. This is something people need to be cognizant of, because if the police are hesitating and they're so afraid to do their jobs that they're going to put their own selves in danger and put you in danger, meaning if you're a bystander at those times, because they are afraid, they're literally afraid to take action. And we all know what happens. Patrick Swayze said it best in the 80s movie Roadhouse. Hesitation will cause your worst fears, your worst nightmares to become a reality. They will happen by you not acting first. A guy who's a criminal, or a guy who's got some training or anything else, knows this. They're not going to hesitate. But this guy grabs this child's hand. I know people are going to jump to that defense and argue that point. Oh, he would never hurt his own kid or his grandchild. Okay, first of all, You never assume in life because it makes an ass of you and me if you spell it out on the whiteboard. But let me explain something. When you're a police officer and you see a man armed with a knife who's acting hostile, walk over and take the hand of a small child and start walking off and trying to control the scene, I'm going to tell you right now, that is completely beyond justified of being a shoot scenario, of a legal shooting. The fact the guy had the knife and wouldn't drop it and was in the close proximity of everyone and the police, it was a shoot scenario from the minute he had the knife out. From the minute he displayed it. Someone with a knife gets into the tactical scenario, 25, 35 feet away. Just as, I can't think of the name, being a martial artist, I always knew the guy's name. The guy, it was Danny Inosanto, Filipino martial arts expert. Bruce Lee's friend, one of his top students, had trained for, years, and basically had showed that there was, a guy can approach you and a guy can stab you before you can think. Your brain can think, I need to draw my weapon from my holster, I need to pull this, and should I fire or not fire? The guy can run the 30 feet, stab you numerous times, and kill you before you can actually do that. And that only takes you fractions of a second, but you cannot react and think and process and fire the weapon. As a proven fact. So when you have a guy with a knife in the middle of a crowd of people, and then deciding to take a child's hand and go for a stroll down the highway, you cannot let that happen. That was, unfortunately, enough to ever armchair quarterback people. He should have never been able to grab the hand of that child. It should have been over at that point. They tried to tase this guy. It did not work. Well, now he's coming after everybody with a knife. And then they finally, unfortunately, did what should have been done probably. They had to shoot this guy. But they're now trying to make this guy out to be a martyr of society, upstanding citizen. The accident confused him, disoriented. Let's talk about that. I'm not a doctor like most cops, most retired cops, and most private investigators are not either. Is there some rare medical thing that could have happened from him being in the accident and bumping his head? Hey, you can always be out of it, disoriented, confused, but you know what? This guy was performing pretty well for a guy that was supposedly bumped on the head, removing a knife, resisting, fighting being tased. If he's already so bumped in the head and disoriented and injured, this taser should have just been the final blow and lay this guy out for a nice nap for a few minutes. No, not this guy. He was fighting through the taser with the knife and aggressively still coming at the police on the body cam. You can see the knife sticking straight up. And again, this is the Daniel Turcios from Raleigh, North Carolina. So I can tell you that that argument, even though the lawyer's trying to make that defense and make some money off this now, I can tell you my impression of this scenario, this guy did not appear in any way, shape, or form to be some upstanding family man, first off. And I'm not sure what's going to come out. You know, people always try, in the media, they love to hide people's arrest history. There's always some sleuth that digs it up. I don't waste my time on those parts of it because it's not my fight. I just like to watch the videos and weigh in on what I've seen, but I'm not hired on this case, and so I'm not investing, months on if this guy had a criminal history, or like on the Amir Locke case. I don't spend all, night. I'm hired to be a professional investigator for my full-time job. So I like to weigh in on these though and help people and inform and educate them on what I see, what I can articulate from these. And people love these videos when I make these video topics like this, and they love to comment on these and ask questions. So, and I like the conversations. It's intriguing to get, discuss these investigations. So I just don't see anything at all where an accident, I've handled thousands of accidents like this. I've seen people's different reactions. Never, as a police officer, did I have a guy involved in a, serious traumatic accident remove a knife and start putting himself, putting his family, putting fire, EMS, and police all in danger, and basically act in a suicidal way, or a I forget the phrase in law enforcement, but you know, where they're forcing the suicide by cop, where you're basically acting in such a way so crazy that you're making the police shoot you. You're literally waving the knife at the police and telling them while they're pointing weapons at you that you're not dropping it. That is generally much more going on there, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and that person is seeming for whatever reason to be. In my scenario that I dealt with, the person has a knife in St. Louis, that's exactly what they were doing to me. They were trying to make me shoot them. In my scenario, thank God every day, I did not have to shoot the guy. I put myself in harm's way, disarmed him, and later got a, cheesy award for that. But I'm glad I did not have to take the guy's life. There was 5 or 6 times as a police officer, I was beyond justified pulling that trigger, and I always put myself for 5 seconds more in harm's way to find out a way to disarm this guy or these people. So, hey, everybody's different. Everybody's wired differently. We all have different levels of confidence and training. So I will say though, with this Daniel Turcios guy, grabbing a little kid's hand walking off, no way, man. Not on my watch. You cannot let that happen. If you're a law enforcement officer and you're listening to me, I'm telling you right now, you guys can't second guess yourself, man. And you cannot hesitate. I don't care if you're not backed. There's still people out there that back you, and you cannot let a guy with a knife walk off with a little kid. So I don't see where this guy has any leg to stand on. His family, the fact they're trying to make a cash cow out of this now and say this guy was disoriented. There was bigger issues there than a guy being disoriented. There was something else. I would say from my experience, and that's you don't want to start making guesses, but I would say that there was something else as far as it's all indicative of somebody that's under the influence of something. That or some type of psychological issue. So I would love to hear your comments, yay or nay, whatever. But again, I never say definitives on anything because, again, as an investigator, I'm just giving the facts. I like to weigh in a little bit, but I'm never going to say one way or another on things or who's for sure innocent or guilty. That's for a judge to decide, and ultimately someday for our creator to also decide. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching.